Friends, welcome. Let us start our fourth session on income from house property. Uh, Broadly, most of the things we have discussed today, our plan was to again recapitulate those things and do some questions. Some problem we'll try to solve. Then we'll move ahead. Some other things we'll be learning. Going to share with you the screen right now. I think screen is visible to all of you.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
You already know what is the meaning of house property, what is the concept of deemed ownership, and this is the computation process. You know, from gross annual value, local authority taxes needs to be deducted to arrive at the net annual value. Then two deductions: one is standard deduction, which is flat 30%. Then interest on borrowed capital is allowed. Then we will be getting income from house property. In this concept, already we know certain conditions are also relevant for taxing a property on the third income from house property. That also we have understood. And this computation of gross annual value, this fundamental concept, we have to understand that first of all we have to compute the reasonable expected rent. Okay, that is the rent which the property is reasonably expected to fetch if it is let out. So that is relevant to compute gross annual value, or you can say that is the gross annual value. If the property is let out and not vacant, and actual rent is more than the reasonable expected rent, then we are supposed to take the actual rent. And in case the property is vacant and owing to vacancy, actual rent is less than the reasonable rent, then we have to take actual rent. Okay. So if property is not vacant, then actual rent or reasonable rent, whichever is higher. And if the property is vacant and actual rent is less because of vacancy, then actual rent has to be taken. This concept we have discussed. And how to compute the gross annual value. Again, this comparison also you have discussed. We need to compare municipal value with the fair rent. We have to pick up the higher figure. Then we have to see that figure should not exceed the standard rent. Therefore, we have to compare that thing with standard rent, and we have to take the lower of standard rent and the previous figure which is computed. Then in case actual rent received or receivable is higher, then take the actual rent. This concept we have discussed already, and we have done questions also to solve it. Okay. And you know, after arriving in that, in case property is vacant for certain period, then vacancy allowance is to be allowed at this level. After comparing it with the actual rent, we'll find out the gross annual value at this level, this figure. Thereafter, only vacancy allowance has to be allowed. This fact also we had discussed in our previous class, and recorded videos are available. You can have a look at that. And these are the few questions we have already solved. And how to treat unrealized rent, that also we had discussed. And you know, to avail deduction for unrealized rent, certain conditions needs to be made. That conditions also we have discussed. Right. And we know this concept also, that interest or borrowed capital can be for pre-construction period and can be for post-construction period. We know when the pre-construction period will start, when the post-construction period will start, and when both the periods are going to end. That also we have discussed. Okay, in this concept, in earlier video it is there. And you know, post-construction period is allowed every year, right? And the pre-construction period interest is allowed. How it is allowed? Pre-construction period interest.
5 equal
5 equal
installments.
installments. Very good. So this concept we have discussed, and we have done some questions also. Well, now in the previous class I was explaining you various types of house property. Okay, so today we'll go deep into that. In the previous class I had told you there are in fact 5 kinds of house property, and one more property we have included here, that is property held as stock in trade. So now if you consider that we can classify the house properties into 6 categories. One is self-occupied, second is let out, third one is deemed to be let out property, fourth one is unoccupied property, fifth one is partly occupied and partly self-occupied, partly let out property, and the last one which I have added now is property held as stock in trade. Okay, these are the 6 category of house property. how to arrive at their annual value one by one will be discussed. Okay, and how to classify this property. This chart also we had discussed in earlier class, right? In which situation property will be treated as a let out, which situation it will be treated as self-occupied, when occupied, when partly self-occupied, partly let out. All these things were there in the previous class we had discussed. So I'm skipping that thing. But from here, we'll go deep into the subject that how to uh, find out the annual value of the self-occupied house property, or how to compute income which is chargeable to income under the head house property. First of all, self-occupied property, right? So self-occupied means self-occupied by the owner or the family. Either it is occupied by the owner or owner's family for its residence. Then only it will be called as the self-occupied house. It may be self-occupied for the part of the year and remain vacant. That is also possible. Let us say in 12 months time, 10 months it is self-occupied and 2 months it is vacant. That means still it is a self-occupied house. Is it not? But it should not be let out for part of the period. If it is let out for a part of the period and part of the period is self-occupied, then that will not be classified under that self-occupied house property. Rather, that will be treated as what property? Partly self-occupied and partly let out property. Okay. So you have to see, it must not be vacant for the whole year. If it is vacant for the whole year, then it will be deemed to be let out property or unoccupied. Okay. So did you understand what is the meaning of self-occupied property? Either it is self-occupied for the whole year or self-occupied for the part year and vacant for the remaining part of the year. Then only it is self-occupied. If it is entirely vacant, throughout the year it is vacant, then it is not self-occupied. It is deemed to be let out property or unoccupied property. Or if it is partly self-occupied and partly let out, then also it will be treated like that. It will not be treated as a self-occupied. There are certain benefits which are available to self-occupied property, but it is available only for individuals and HUA. Okay, but we also discussed this concept. If the owner is occupying the house property in some other capacity that is not in the capacity of the owner, then also house property will not be treated as a self-occupied house property. Example I had given you, that let us say owner of the house has given the house on rent to one employer, and employer has again allotted that house to the owner as a rent-free accommodation. So fact remains that owner is still occupying the house. Owner is continuously occupying the house, but not in the capacity of the owner. He is occupying in the capacity of the employee, right? In that case, that will not be treated as a self-occupied house. This concept we had discussed in our previous class. Now let us again recapitulate. In case of a self-occupied house property, what will be the net annual value?
Nil.
Net annual value will be nil. So that is the advantage here. So net annual value will be nil. Even if you can say reasonable expected rent may be more, but doesn't matter. Net annual value will be nil. And standard deduction, how much will be allowed? Normal standard deduction is 30%. But here in case of self-occupied property, how much it will be allowed?
Nil.
Nil. Now, friends, can you tell me whether municipality taxes will be allowed or not?
Yes, sir.
Will be allowed or not?
No, sir.
No, because we are saying net annual value is nil. That means after allowing municipality taxes and all, it will be nil, right? So standard deduction is also nil. So only one amount is allowed, that is interest on borrowed capital. That to maximum how much?
2 lakh.
2 lakh.
2 lakh.
2 lakhs.
Maximum 2 lakh rupees is allowed as interest on borrowed capital. But here conditions you have to see. The loan must have been taken on or after 1st April 1999. Loan must have been taken for purchase or construction of the house, and construction must have been completed within 5 years from the end of the financial year in which loan was taken. And the lender, the bank or financial institution or anyone was giving the loan, must give a certificate. Okay, that how much of this thing, how much of interest and how much of interest has been paid. Okay, and these conditions are complied with, that certificate is also necessary. Okay, and as I told you, the limit of 2 lakh rupees is there for interest on borrowed funds. But this 2 lakh rupees is total pre-construction interest and post-construction interest taken together. The limit is 2 lakh. Okay, and now you must have understood that net annual value is nil, and then deduction of interest is allowed. So what will happen to the final computation? What will the amount that is income from house property? Because of this allowance of 2 lakh rupees, the income from house property may be negative. Negative to the extent of minus 2 lakh rupees. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. Now you see, in certain other situation, what is the other situation? If the loan is taken for acquisition, construction, repair, or renewal of the house property before 1499, then the interest deduction will be not be 2 lakh rupees. Rather, how much?
30,000.
30,000. If for construction, etc., it is taken before 1499. And one more thing, if the loan is taken for repair, renewal, or reconstruction, it is not for purchase or construction, but for repair, renewal, construction, on or after 1499 also, then how much interest is allowed? Again, 30,000. Okay. 2 lakh rupees is allowed when house is taken for purchase or construction. Are you seeing it here? For purchase or construction, it is 2 lakh rupees. But if it is for repair, renewal, reconstruction, even if it is on or after 1499, how much interest will be allowed? 30,000.
30,000.
Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the actual interest payable in aggregate of 1 or 2 self-occupied houses, earlier we have discussed this, one can claim maximum 2 houses as self-occupied houses. Okay, so maximum amount of 30,000 can be allowed here. Right. Okay. Now let me summarize what we have learned in as regards to self-occupied house. Annual value will be nil. Okay, we know that. And deductions under section 80, under section 24 is like this. Interest on borrowed capital will be allowed if it is taken for acquisition and construction of the house on or after 1499, and the same is completed within 5 years from the end of the financial year in which capital was borrowed. Interest paid payable in toto for 1 or 2 self-occupied houses subject to maximum 2 lakh rupees. This 2 lakh rupees is including post-construction and pre-construction period interest taken together will be allowed. And in case it is for acquisition and construction, but prior to 1499, 30,000 rupees is allowed. Or it is for repair, renovation, reconstruction at any point of time. Okay, whether it is before 1499 or after 1499, then also 30,000 rupees is allowed. If that is so, we have to take this figure, interest on borrowed capital, either 2 lakh, maximum 2 lakh or maximum 30,000 rupees. And consequently, income from house property can be negative to that extent. Okay, so the aggregate interest on borrowed capital under this both the clauses cannot exceed 2 lakh rupees. Maximum amount is 2 lakh rupees. At certain cases, it is 30,000. Okay, so this is what we have discussed so far, right? If you know this thing, can you solve a question? I'll request you to pick up a piece of pen and a piece of paper and a pen, and let us try to solve this question. Okay. Okay, friends. Quickly pick up.
Yes,
Now, some of you please read
Yes,
this.
sir.
Yeah, some of you please read this question. I'll be explaining you how to do it. Very simple question. And this is regarding self-occupied house property. Right. Previous class we had broadly discussed, and today we again recapitulated that thing. So we should be able to solve this question. Please read the case question, some of you.
X stays in her own house. The rent of similar property in the neighborhood is rupees 25,000 per month. The
Okay. Now, friends,
municipal
you have understood.
valuation is
Now you have
rupees.
understood this is a self-occupied property. As it says, X stays in her own house. Right. And rent of similar property in the neighborhood is 25,000 per month. That means expected rent per month is 25,000. Now please continue.
The municipal valuation is rupees 2,80,000 per annum.
Right.
Municipal taxes paid is rupees 8,000.
Right.
The house construction began in April 2014 with a loan of rupees 20 lakhs taken from SBI Housing Finance Limited at 9% per annum on 1/4/2014.
Okay.
The
So
construction
there is
was
a housing loan.
completed.
Right. Please carry on.
The construction was completed on 30/11/2016. The accumulated interest up to 31/3/2016 is rupees 3,60,000. On 31/3/2021, X paid rupees 2,40,000, which included rupees 1,80,000 as interest. There was no principal repayment prior to this date. Compute excess income from house property for annual assessment year 2021 to 22.
Okay, friends, we are doing this question to understand the entire concept of this thing, self-occupied house property. Okay, many things we have to deal with this. First, we'll find out what is the gross annual value. Then we are going to find out what is the net annual value. And you know there is pre-construction period interest. Is that how much is the pre-construction period interest? You can tell me.
9% per annum.
9%.
How much? How much?
3,60,000.
3,60,000.
rupees. How much? How it will be allowed? Whether entire 3,60,000
In 5 equal installments.
Okay, good. And post-construction period interest will be allowed each year. Okay, we are going to solve this question. Right. So I am explaining you that concept once again. So just have a look. The annual value of the house property used for self-occupation. You already know what is the annual value. If it is self-occupied, the moment you know it is self-occupied, annual value will be nil. Is it not? Expected rent, municipal value, all these things are irrelevant now because it is self-occupied. Is it not? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Net annual value will be nil. Okay. Now only one deduction is allowed, that is interest on borrowed capital. Only one deduction is allowed. Here what we have to do, we have to segregate the interest into pre-construction period interest and post-construction period interest. Right. First, if you look at the question, what it says, X paid 2,40,000 rupees, which included rupees 1,80,000 rupees interest. That means how much interest, how much principal he has paid? How much is the interest?
1,80,000.
The remaining amount?
60,000.
So that's the principal. And you already know the pre-construction period interest is 3,60,000. Okay, now let us see how to solve this question. Right, interest on borrowed capital, interest on loan taken for construction of the house on or after 1/4/99. Since it is on or after 1/4/99, so maximum 2 lakh rupees will be allowed. And the same is also completed in prescribed time. What is the prescribed time? Can you tell me?
5 years,
5
from
years.
which the loan is taken.
Okay, so maximum 2 lakh rupees will be allowed. Right, in case how much in total interest is 1,80,000. Right, plus pre-construction period interest 72,000. How 72,000?
3,60,000 divided by
3,60,000 divided by 1.5. So total how much interest is allowed? Allowable is 2,58,000. But there is a maximum cap. Okay, it is more than 2 lakh rupees. So maximum amount which will be allowed is only 2 lakh rupees. Did you understand this concept?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it is very simple. If it is a self-occupied house property, straightway we have to compute only one deduction, that is interest on borrowed capital, that to maximum cap of 2 lakh rupees. And income from house property can be negative. Here you see there is a loss under the head income from house property, 2 lakh. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
This part is clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, friends, now these concepts, let me tell you one thing. I had already told you in previous class that this benefit, the benefit is that net annual value is nil. This is available only in case of self-occupied house. And this benefit of nil annual value will be available only up to 2 self-occupied houses or for 2 unoccupied houses. What is unoccupied house? I'll be telling you separately. So only maximum for 2 self-occupied houses you can avail this benefit. Okay, that means either if you're having one house, then for one house, or for two house, you can have two houses. But if you're having three house, then one house you can avail maximum up to two houses, and one house shall be deemed to be let out. Okay, even if you are still self-occupying, but it will be deemed to be let out. So the benefit of nil annual value in respect of to two self-occupied houses, house property is available only to one individual and each. This concept also you have to remember. Okay, self-occupied house property annual value is nil is only for HUF and individuals. Okay, if house property is held in the name of, let us say, your association of person, body of individual, then company, etc., then it will not be annual self-occupied house property. The annual value will not be treated as nil. No deduction for municipal taxes, that also you have understood, is allowed in respect of such property or properties, as annual value means value determined after deduction of municipal taxes. Okay, so this concept you have to remember. Okay, right?
Yes, sir.
Sometimes what happens, assessee use more than one house, and in certain situations, the more than one house can also be treated as a single residential unit. So if more than one house or floor are used as a single residential unit, so that house, that means that combination of two houses can also be treated as one house. Assessee can claim this benefit for the combined house. Did you understand this thing?
No, sir.
Let us say two houses are there, but they are joined. They can be treated as one residential house. Sometimes in some apartments, people take two adjacent flats and they join them. They are treated as one residential house. In that case, that will be treated as a single house. That means one residential house, one single house. But if they are separate units, separate residential units, then they are two different houses. Did you understand this concept?
Sir, a bit
Yes.
confused.
Okay. You need an explanation. Just give me 1 second to explain it. Let us say here is a house. Okay. Here is a house. Okay. There are two different residential units. If there are two residential units, then this is can be taken one self-occupied house, one self-occupied house. Both the houses you can have it. Okay. Fine. No doubt here.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But let us say these houses are single residential units. Let us say they are joined. How you can sue? There might be 1 meter connection, 1 meter connection, one kitchen. So even if there are two houses, they are single residential units. Then that will be treated as only one self-occupied house, single house. So there is one more chance. Assessee can have one more house, a self-occupied house, because maximum two houses one can claim. Did you understand this example?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
so
sir.
that is the concept. That is the concept. Maximum 2 residential houses, but if 2 houses are joined and treated as a single residential unit, they will be treated as a single house. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, I told you interest on borrowed capital is allowed. In many cases, it is 2 lakh rupees, and in some situation, it is 30,000 rupees. But if it is a joint loan, joint home loan, that means 2 people have jointly taken that loan, then each owner can avail the deduction up to rupees 2 lakh rupees. Right? Let us say 2 owners. Let us say husband and wife have jointly taken a housing loan. Then husband can avail a deduction of 2 lakh rupees, up to 2 lakh rupees, and wife also can avail a deduction up to 2 lakh rupees. Did you understand? Because what the law
Yes,
says,
sir.
owner can avail the deduction up to 2 lakh rupees. And joint ownership, each owner is a owner. Right? And one more thing. In case of this thing, income from house property, you know, interest amount is allowed as deduction here under section 24B. And the principal amount which is paid, that is also allowed as a deduction under section 80C. 80C, you know, when calculating total income, from the gross total income, certain deductions are allowed. Okay, we have explained that concept in our earlier classes. You can check those videos also. Okay, 80C allows a deduction maximum up to 1,50,000. And in case of, this is for what? This is for payment of principal, not for interest. Suppose you have taken a housing loan, you have paid some interest, you have paid some principal. Interest of 2 lakh rupees is allowed under section 24B. And the principal amount up to 1,50,000 rupees is allowed under section 80C. And just like I told you that in case of joint ownership, both the owners can claim interest. Here also, both the owners also can claim 80C benefit. Okay. That means for principal payment, both the members can claim deduction of to rupees 1,50,000. Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, that is about self-acquired house property. Now, next house property we are going to learn is about let-out house property. It is again simple. First of all, you have to compute gross annual value. Right? Then what you have to do? Deduct municipality taxes paid. What you are going to get? Gross annual value minus municipality taxes paid. What you are going to get?
Net annual value.
Net annual value. Okay. Then in case of let out house property, 2 deductions, standard deductions, that is 30% of net annual value you will be getting. Then interest on borrowed capital. And here there is no ceiling. In case of self-acquired house property, there was a ceiling either up to 2 lakh rupees or up to 30,000 rupees. But there is no ceiling. That means any amount can be claimed as interest on borrowed capital. Okay. Suppose interest on borrowed capital is 2,50,000 rupees, 2,50,000 rupees can be claimed here. It's not limited to the upper cap of 2 lakh rupees. Okay. Then after deducting, after making these 2 deductions, you'll be getting income from let out house property. Did you understand this?
Yes, sir.
So,
Okay. Now, let me summarize once again. For a let out house property, what you have to do? First, what you have to compute gross annual value. For that thing, compute reasonable rent. What is reasonable rent? Higher of municipal valuation or fair rent, but it is restricted to standard rent. We have done the question earlier. Okay, the higher of municipal valuation and fair rent, but it is limited to standard. Okay, you can compute reasonable rent. Then next step, what you have to do? Compute actual rent received or receivable. Okay, and when considering this actual rent received and receivable, you have to deduct unrealized rent also. This also we have done questions earlier. So actual rent received receivable means Actual rent received or receivable minus unrealized rent. If rent is not realized but subject to fulfillment of certain condition. Condition is that the tenant must be given a notice and steps must have taken to vacate the property. The tenant must not be occupying any other property of the landlord. Okay, like this. So these conditions were discussed and the tenancy agreement should be bona fide. If these conditions are met, then deductions for unrealized rent is also possible. Okay, so first one, compute reasonable expected rent. You know this formula. Then compute actual rent received or receivable after deducting reasonable rent. This also you know. Then compare reasonable rate and actual rent. Okay, whichever is higher, you pick up. Okay, and that is your gross annual value. And from that gross annual value, deduct municipality taxes. Right? Municipality taxes you have to deduct if it is paid, actually paid by the owner. And again, I repeat you, municipal taxes are allowed on a payment basis. But interest on borrowed capital is allowed on accrual basis. Even if interest is accrued but not paid, interest is allowed. But municipal taxes are allowed only when it is paid. After deducting municipal taxes, you'll be getting net annual value. Right? Then two deductions, 30% of net annual value. Then interest on borrowed capital without any ceiling. You'll be getting income from house property. Understood it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Will you be able to solve a question?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, I'll be explaining you the question. But here in this situation, I told you right now one thing. Unrealized rent I deducted from here. Actual rent received or receivable. To compute that thing, unrealized rent is deducted from here. But there is a possibility there may be an alternative view also. Okay, what the law says, if you go by the section, it says it should be deducted. According to the law, it should be deducted at this stage. But when we file the return, at the time of filing of the return, we feel that deduction of unrealized rent is possible from actually this is allowed from gross annual value. That means in filing the return, you can find out after at this stage when you arrive at the gross annual value, after that only unrealized rent is allowed. So this is, you can say, an alternative view, but you need not worry about this. You only solve the problem in this format. Okay, unrealized rent should be deducted from the actual. There may be some other alternative view that when unrealized rent can be deducted from the gross annual value. And this alternative view is permitted in the income tax return itself. Okay. So just keep this thing in mind. If some of you are filing income tax return, you may find this thing. Okay, we'll take a break right now. After that, we'll be solving a question. Okay, just you can have a look at this question. This question will be solving just on, I think you have understood how to compute income from house property for let out house property. We'll be doing this thing. Municipal valuation is something, fair rent is something, standard rent is also given, property is let out. Okay, unrealized rent is there. Taking all these things into consideration, we are going to solve the question. Now we are going to take a break. Okay, right? We'll catch up after 10 minutes.